Your Honor, I think this is outrageous. You're going forward without the prosecutor.
Did Blake Lively just set fire to her own career from the witness stand? 1 minute she was defending her reputation. The next, her own lawyer was storming out of the courtroom.
Specifically told her on the phone not to cancel that appointment, that it wouldn't be a problem.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to be here for the decision, that's your business.
Reporters were flooding the halls, and what started as a civil trial was suddenly being treated like a national security emergency. What on earth has happened behind those courtroom doors? And more importantly, what's still waiting to come out? Let's rewind to the moment everything cracked. It was supposed to be a standard evidentiary hearing, nothing more than procedure, but when Blake Lively's lawyer, Matt Gabriel, abruptly stood up and walked out of the courtroom without a word to his client, the trial flipped upside down. He didn't walk out in protest. He walked out in panic. What triggered it? Simple: the footage. That morning, the prosecution introduced a so-called clarifying exhibit. Everyone expected basic emails, or maybe some call logs. Instead, the lights dimmed. A screen lit up. And there, for everyone to see, was Blake Lively, caught in a private, off-the-record meeting with Justin Baldoni, the lead witness in the case. That meeting contradicted everything she had testified to under oath. No public location, no legal counsel. Just Blake, Baldoni, and one very suspicious man in the background handing over a file. This wasn't a random paparazzi clip. It was time-stamped just days before her deposition. So if Blake had told the court she hadn't seen Baldoni in 6 months, what was this? The footage froze the room. Even Gabriel sat up, grabbed a notepad, whispered something to his assistant, and within minutes he was gone. Why would a lawyer abandon a case mid-trial? Because that wasn't the only secret coming out that day. What most people didn't know was that this trial was never supposed to happen, not yet. The original court date? Early 2026.
Well, this does not look good for Blake Lively because she is refusing to participate in a neutral third-party investigation into her claims of harassment. Now, we already know both Wayfair and Sony have gone on record saying that Blake Lively never filed any HR complaints throughout production. They claim no formal HR complaints were filed, therefore there was no investigation because, as Wayfair is now saying, they didn't know about these claims until she filed her lawsuit, or at least until her CRD complaint leaked into the New York Times back in December.
But everything changed when sealed documents were leaked. Within 72 hours, the DOJ and U.S. Attorney's Office stepped in. They weren't just interested, they were alarmed. The words used behind the scenes? National interest, criminal exposure, urgent intervention. And suddenly, Blake's case wasn't about reputation anymore. It was about something bigger, something hidden. Reporters got hold of court scheduling briefs and found something disturbing. Blake's legal team had already requested private sealed hearings months before the leak. That's rare. And it means they knew something was coming and tried to bury it before it reached the courtroom. But the footage, that didn't come from her team. It came from the outside, from someone who wasn't supposed to have it. Which raised a dangerous question: was Blake trying to keep it hidden, or was someone else exposing her from the inside? Then came the second video. A different camera angle, wider this time, showed a third man standing in the room. He wasn't part of the staff. He had a briefcase and handed Blake a file. He entered and exited with her. Speculation exploded. Was he legal counsel, a PR rep, or something else? Soon after, a leaked memo hit the press, sent anonymously from someone claiming to be a paralegal close to the case. Subject line: reputation extinction scenarios. Inside, emails between Blake's PR team and Gabriel discussing how to word her testimony to avoid triggering a court response. One message read, "Avoid naming Justin, stick to unclear communication windows." Legal experts were floored. Why was a publicist shaping legal testimony? But the truth was even worse. Blake's own attorney didn't know about the meeting. At least, that's what he claimed in a handwritten affidavit submitted just hours after walking out. And what he wrote? It was brutal. He accused Blake of misleading her legal team. He admitted he had relied on documents from her PR team that now appeared to be altered, possibly fabricated. Gabriel didn't just resign. He distanced himself ethically. In his words, "I can no longer represent a client who weaponizes the truth." That line made headlines around the world. But it was about to get even uglier. Justin Baldoni finally took the stand, and what he said left the courtroom in stunned silence. According to Baldoni, Blake contacted him personally weeks before the trial, begging him not to testify. He claimed she offered a private settlement to keep him quiet, but he refused. Then came the threats. Burner phone messages warning him to protect the brand and think about your family. The final message. It mentioned his children by name. He turned everything over to authorities. And guess what? The burner phone was traced back to a shell company linked to Blake's PR firm. What started as gossip now looked like witness intimidation. Baldoni's voice cracked as he said, "No one should have to choose between the truth and their family's safety." The courtroom paused. The judge called a recess. But this time it wasn't just about calming nerves. It was about preparing for what came next. The very next morning, Blake arrived at court with a new lawyer, Victoria Chen, crisis litigator. Known for cleaning up celebrity disasters, feared for one reason: she doesn't take cases unless someone is drowning. And the first thing she did? She requested partial immunity for Blake. Yes, immunity. In a civil trial, that request said everything. Blake wasn't just facing public backlash, she was preparing for potential criminal charges. Then Chen dropped another bombshell. Blake was experiencing a mental health crisis, manipulated by external pressures, and emotionally unfit to make sound decisions during the trial's early stages. Some saw it as strategy, others saw it as a desperate Hail Mary. But one thing was clear: this was no longer about clearing Blake's name, it was about survival. And the next chess move: blame the former lawyer. In court, Chen subtly implied that Gabriel had failed Blake, acting with personal bias and mishandling the case from the beginning. A war of affidavits had begun. And in that war, if Blake blames Gabriel, will he fire back harder? Now, the court has ordered a full forensic review of Blake's phone records, something usually reserved for criminal trials. They'll be looking at messages, call logs, deleted data, anything that ties her to those threats. If a connection is found, it's game over. But just when everyone thought they'd seen the worst, the judge unsealed a document submitted by Gabriel before his walkout. It was more than a resignation. It was a detailed list of moments when Blake's team allegedly interfered with his legal process, pressuring him to steer strategy for optics, not truth. He accused them of delivering backdated timeline documents. He admitted relying on their cleaned materials in good faith. He ended his affidavit with a line that will haunt this case forever: "Had I known, I would have withdrawn weeks ago." The fallout has been nuclear. Gabriel has gone silent. Blake's PR team has disappeared from the spotlight, and her fan base. Divided, confused, fractured. Even the media's tone has changed, from curious to stunned to outraged, because this isn't just a case of a celebrity caught lying, it's a case of systemic manipulation, a courtroom weaponized, and careers left in the blast radius. If the upcoming evidence confirms what the leaks suggest, this trial won't just end with a verdict, it could end with charges. Prison time, disbarment, and reputations permanently erased. So, what happens next? That depends on the footage still under seal. Because if the rumors are true, and there are more tapes, more meetings, more threats, then this courtroom drama isn't ending anytime soon. It's just getting started.